Okay, good morning. Good to be back, Zev. We're moving right along in Perik Hay, the last Perik of Avodah Zarah. We're up to Perik Hay, Mishnah Zayin. So we've already well established that it's also to have any anor, that it's also to have any benefit from Yain Nesech. We learned that in the Mishnah in Perik Beis, Mishnah Gimel. The Isur to have any anor from Yain Nesech includes the money that someone receives for selling Yain Nesech. So now the Mishnah will discuss this halacha in regard to a worker who is paid with wine. So the Mishnah says, Umnum Israel. Most Rishonim take out the word shell. It's Umnim Israel. If a Jewish craftsman did a job for an idolater, for a goy, so Umnim Israel shesholach lahem oivit kachovim chovish shel yain nesach b'schoron. So the Jews worked for the idolater, and the idolater who hired them sent them a barrel of yain nesach as their payment. The yain nesach was their payment. So what's the halacha? Says the Mishnah, Mutorim loymar loy tein lano es dameo. The Jewish workers who worked for the goy, who received this yain nesach as their payment, are allowed to say to the goy, give us the value of this wine in money instead. So the chiddush is that they can say to him, pay us in cash, pay us with money. They're permitted to say this. Why? Because the employer actually owes them money. He doesn't owe them wine. He owes them money. Give us the money that is owed to us as payment. And when they ask then to be paid in cash, to be paid with money, they're not selling the wine back to him, but are simply refusing to accept this as payment for the work, and instead are insisting to receive cash. Mutorim leimar lo ten lanu es dameya. But however, once the barrel entered their possession and they legally acquired it, what does that mean? It means that they accepted the barrel as payment, but if it was merely placed in their yard and they did not want to acquire it, it is not considered to have entered their possession. It is not considered mishenichnes al shusan, and then they would be allowed to. But if mishenichnes al shusan, says the Mishnah, also, it's also for them to have, it's also for them to return it to the idolater in exchange for money. Why is that? Because the wine has now become theirs. And giving it back to the idolaters in return for money is the same as selling it to him. And it is also for a Jew to sell and take money for Yain Nesech because he thereby has benefit from it. So that's the first halacha in the Mishnah about the Jews being paid with Yain Nesech. Now the Mishnah goes weiter and discusses the rule for selling kosher wine to an idolater. Now once the idolater, once the goy touches the wine, it becomes also. And therefore for a Jew to be able to sell wine to an idolater, he must do so in a way that the sale takes effect before the idolater touches it. So now the Mishnah will explain to us how this is done. How this is done. Says the Mishnah, if a Jew sells his kosher wine to an idolater, whether he may use the money from the sale depends on how the sale was carried out, how the sale was transacted. Says the Mishnah. Pasak actually modad. If he said the price for the wine before he measured out the amount of wine the idolater wants to buy, and the idolater agreed to it, and then he took that amount of wine and put it into a container that the idolater took, then says the Mishnah, Dam of Mutorim. Its money is permitted for benefit. Why is that? Because since the idolater agreed to the price in advance, he acquired the wine as soon as he took the container. And he becomes then obligated to pay for it. Because, why is it permissible? Because at that time the wine was not nesech. And it did not become yain nesech until he later touched the wine in the container or poured it. And therefore the Jew may accept the money for it. Again, to explain better, since the sale took effect before the wine became nesech, so the money is absolutely permitted, even though the idolater does not pay until after he touches the wine and after he makes it nesech. This is because the idolater is now paying a debt that he owes the Jew and not purchasing yain nesech. But the Mishnah continues, Modad ad sheloi posak. But if the Jew measured out the wine and gave it to the idolater before he set the price, for it, and the idolater accepted, then we understand that Dam of Asuri, its money is also, its money is forbidden. Since the idolater had not yet made up his mind to buy the wine when he took the container, because could be the price is too high. Maybe it's a price that he's not willing to pay. So he did not yet acquire the wine when he took it. Because the halacha is alamol, that a person does not acquire something unless he means to acquire it. Even if he moves it, he needs to agree that I want to buy this. This fellow didn't yet agree. And therefore, when he touches the wine in the container, it becomes yain nesech while the Jew still owns it. It has not as yet been legally transferred to the goy. And when they finally agreed on the price and made the sale, it was then already yain nesech. It was yain nesech that it was being sold. And the Jew, therefore, may not have any hano from the money. Now the Mishnah continues. Another din, another halacha regarding the sale of wine to an idolater. Says the Mishnah, Notal es a mashpech umodad letzoich tzloichisoi shel oived kochovim. If a Jew took a funnel and measured wine into an idolater's bottle that already contained yain nesech. Let's understand. Not alas a mashpech. If a Jew took a funnel and measured wine into an idolatrous bottle that already contained nesech, in other words, he placed the funnel over the idolatrous bottle, and after measuring out the amount of wine the idolater wanted to buy, he poured the wine from the measuring cup through the funnel into the bottle. So explains Rashi. So not alas a mashpech u'madach l'soich tzlechisa shel ovid kechovim. V'chazer u'madad l'soich tzlechisa shel Yisrael. And then he took the same funnel and measured wine into a Jew's bottle. The same funnel. What's the halacha? Says the Mishnah, Im yesh boy akeves yain. If the bottom of the funnel has a wine retainer, what does that mean? It means that it has a lip that prevents the last drops of wine from flowing down into the bottle. Also, the wine that was poured into the Jew's bottle is also favos, because the drops of wine left in the funnel became also as yain nesech when the funnel was used to pour wine into the idolater's bottle. So since those drops now fell into the Jew's bottle, so the wine in the Jew's bottle also become asur. And this is because of a halacha that is discussed in the Gemara in Yerodea. This is because of the halacha of nitzoik chibur. Nitzoik chibur. Nitzoik chibur is a rule. Nitzoik chibur means an uninterrupted flow of liquid is considered a connection. Nitzoik means an uninterrupted flow of liquid is considered chibur. It's considered a connection. That is, when a liquid is poured from one container to another, the stream coming from the upper container to the lower one connects the liquid in the two containers. It is mechaberet as long as the flow is unbroken. And therefore, when wine is poured through the funnel into the idolatrous bottle, which already had some yain nesech in it, the stream of wine going from the funnel to the bottle connects the nesech yain in the bottle to the wine in the funnel and causes the wine in the funnel to become asur as yain nesech. Nitzoik chibur. And that's pshat in the Mishnah. Im yesh bo yakeves yain. If the bottom of the funnel has a wine retainer, a lip that prevents the last drops of wine from flowing down into the bottle, also. So the wine that was poured into the Jew's bottle is also because the drops of wine left in the funnel become asur as yain nesech when the funnel was used to pour wine into the idolater's bottle. And since those drops now fell into the Jew's bottle, the wine in the Jew's bottle also become asur. Even the smallest amount of nesech yain asers any kosher wine in which it becomes mixed. Any amount, a mashu, which we will see clearly, distinctly in the next Mishnah, in Mishnah Ches. And finally, the Mishnah says, a similar case. Ame'are mikli el kli. Ame'are mikli el kli. If a Jew pours kosher wine from one container into another container containing yain nesech, es she'era mimenu mutar. The wine in the container from which he poured is permitted. But ve'es she'era lesoichai also. But the wine into which he poured is also. What is this referring to? So the Mishnah now refers to a case where the stream of wine was interrupted. For example, he poured in short spurts, or he tossed the wine into the second container from a distance. So the Mishnah is teaching us that an interrupted flow does not connect two liquids. An interrupted flow does not connect two liquids. So the wine in the container from which he poured, therefore, remains mutar. However, the wine he poured into the container containing the yain nesech is also. Okay? Not a simple Mishnah, but I hope we got it clear.